The auction hall of Station Xerxes 9 reeked of desperation and credits. Hundreds of species from across the galactic consortium gathered here weekly, their eyes gleaming with calculated interest as various beings were paraded across the platform. The slave trade, though officially condemned by the Central Worlds, thrived in the outer rim where law was merely a suggestion written in languages most chose not to read. Emma Chen stood at the back of the crowd, her jaw clenched tight enough to crack teeth. As a newly appointed human ambassador to the consortium, she'd been warned about places like this. Her predecessor had advised her to look away, to focus on the diplomatic battles she could win. But Emma had never been good at looking away. The auctioneer, a six-armed Vexellian with scales that shimmered like oil on water, gestured dramatically at a Thrin warrior. The bidding was fierce. The warrior's four eyes showed no emotion as he was sold for a sum that could feed a small colony for a year. One by one, the merchandise was sold. Laborers, servants, bodyguards. The consortium members bid with casual indifference, as if purchasing furniture rather than sentient lives. Then the hall began to empty. That concludes today's prime offerings, the auctioneer announced, his translator converting his clicking language into something approximating standard. The market is now closed. Emma turned to leave, bile rising in her throat when she heard it. A soft, rattling breath from the holding pen behind the platform. "Wait," she called out. "There's still someone back there." The auctioneer's scales dulled with something resembling embarrassment. "Ah, yes, that one. Damaged goods, I'm afraid. Not worth the processing fee for disposal. We'll handle it after." "Bring them out," Emma insisted. The creature that emerged made several consortium members gasp and turn away. It was a Kethrin, a species Emma recognized from her briefings. They were known across the galaxy as master engineers, their four-fingered hands capable of manipulations that bordered on the miraculous. This one, however, was clearly broken. Its chitinous exoskeleton was cracked and poorly mended. One of its compound eyes was dark and lifeless, and two of its 6 limbs were twisted at unnatural angles. It moved with the lurching gait of someone who had forgotten how their body was supposed to work. Around its neck hung a collar that broadcast its designation: defective, 0 value. "As you can see," the auctioneer said with barely concealed disgust, "this unit suffered severe trauma during an industrial accident. Cognitive functions impaired, motor skills compromised, cannot perform even basic engineering tasks. It would be more merciful to—" "I'll take it," a voice rang out from the entrance. Emma turned to see Elijah Morrison striding into the hall. The xenobiologist's reputation preceded him: brilliant, unorthodox, and possessed of an infuriating habit of appearing exactly where he wasn't supposed to be. The auctioneer's mandibles clicked in confusion. "Sir, I don't think you understand. This specimen is worthless. The cost of feeding it alone would exceed any possible—" "I understand perfectly," Elijah said, reaching the platform. He looked directly at the Kethrin, not at its broken body, but into its single functioning eye. "How much?" "There is no price. It's scheduled for termination." "Then I'm taking it for free." Elijah pulled out his human credentials. Article 47 of the Consortium Treaty. Any member species has the right to claim custodianship of abandoned property to prevent waste. This creature is being abandoned. I'm claiming it. The auctioneer's scales flushed purple with anger, but the law was clear. Within minutes, the collar was removed from the Kethrin's neck, and Elijah was signing documentation that made him legally responsible for the alien's care. Emma approached as the crowd dispersed. "That was either incredibly noble or incredibly stupid. Why not both?" Elijah replied, offering his arm to the Kethrin, who hesitantly leaned against him. "Emma Chen, right? The new ambassador? Guilty. And you're the scientist who got banned from 3 research stations for ethical violations." "I prefer ethical disagreements," Elijah said with a slight smile. "Want to help me get our friend here back to my ship?" Together, they guided the Kethrin through the station's corridors. Emma noticed how Elijah moved slowly, matching the alien's pace, never showing impatience. How he spoke in soft, reassuring tones, even though the Kethrin probably couldn't understand standard. "Why did you do it?" Emma asked as they reached his vessel. "Everyone says humans are soft, that we let emotion override logic. This just reinforces that stereotype." Elijah helped the Kethrin into a cushioned seat before turning to face her. You know what I've learned in 15 years of xenobiology? Every species in this galaxy has a word for mercy except one. The consortium itself. They have words for efficiency, profit, and utility. But mercy? He shook his head. That's apparently a human weakness. Some would say it is, Emma countered, though her heart wasn't in the argument. Then let them say it, Elijah replied, his eyes hardening. The consortium looks at this being and sees a broken tool. I look and see someone who survived something that should have killed them. That takes strength these superior species can't even comprehend. The Kethrin made a soft, chittering sound. Elijah immediately returned his attention to it, pulling out a scanner to assess its injuries. Emma watched them for a moment, then made a decision. I'm coming with you. If you're going to nurse this one back to health, you'll need diplomatic cover. The station authorities won't like a human flouting their disposal protocols. Elijah glanced up, surprise flickering across his face. You'd risk your position for this? You raised your hand when everyone else walked away, Emma said simply. Seems like the least I can do is make sure that hand doesn't get cut off for the gesture. As Elijah's ship detached from Station Xerxes 9, Emma looked back at the facility where sentient beings were bought and sold like cargo. The consortium called humanity primitive, emotional, illogical. They said humans let their feelings compromise their judgment. Maybe they were right. But as she watched Elijah carefully splint the Kethrin's broken limbs while speaking to it with gentle reassurance, Emma thought about what it meant to be advanced. The consortium had conquered the stars, built empires and created wonders of technology, yet they'd forgotten something fundamental, something that perhaps only humanity still remembered. Every life has value, even the broken ones, especially the broken ones. 3 months later, when that same Kethrin, fully healed and with cognitive functions, restored revolutionized slipspace technology, and credited the humans who saw worth in worthlessness, the consortium would be forced to reassess their assumptions about Earth's emotional species. But that night, as the ship jumped to hyperspace, all that mattered was that one human had raised his hand when everyone else had turned away. Sometimes, that's all it takes to change everything. End.